My name is Bachar Tarabay. I'm an architect, restorer, and a project manager at Econom. So I'm going to start by briefing a small introduction about Econom and its works, the technology that we use, and after that I'll be showcasing some of the examples of the technique, the 3D technologies, and how we used it in, for example, in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Yemen. So Econom was founded in 2013, 10 years ago, and it specializes in the 3D mapping of and digitalization of endangered heritage sites all around the world. Like, we've worked in more or less 30 countries. As you can see, in Lebanon, these are all the countries, but not all the countries have endangered heritage. But we like to focus on these kind of heritage because they are the most precious to us. So we've worked in Lebanon after the explosion, in Iraq, in Syria, and Afghanistan. And Econom works a lot with governmental and non-governmental foundation in order to get the funds and the support to make these projects happen. So here you can see Yves, the founder of Econom, Yves Ibelman. So we've developed several techniques to acquire the data. What we do here is we acquire the data in different places around the world in order to assess this data, process it, and recreate a 3D model that's very precise on the scale of millimeters. So as you can see, sometimes you have to be far away from the sites because of the actual situation in the country. And we also always work with the governments and the authorities, the Ministry of Culture and the Army, in order to make these missions happen, and in collaboration, because all the acquired data that we get are being transmitted directly to these people because they are the people that can make an action and preserve and work on the preservation of these monuments. So here you have different technologies, different drones. So the drones is one of the techniques that we use in order to acquire the data, but not only. We can use poles, and we can hang cameras on the poles and walk around in the sites, capturing thousands and thousands of images, or from ground. We can use ground imaging professional cameras in order to capture this data. So what we try to do, so here is an example of a drone flying over an area. And as you can see here a flight plan. Oh, I did something? Great. So we can see a flight plan. So while the drone is flying, following the flight plan, it's acquiring and capturing thousands and thousands of images in a certain way. And all this data is processed later on in order to create this 3D model. So before every mission, we create a flight plan adapted to the territory in order to recreate. So what you see here appearing is the 3D model that's generated after the data is captured. These technologies allowed us to capture this heritage on different scale, going from macro to micro. And the implementing here, the quality isn't that good, but as you can see, and this is the site of Masaynak in Afghanistan, as you can see, we can integrate very detailed surveys going to millimeters precision in bigger sites in order to have a more comprehensive and logical environment in order to better understand the archaeological sites that we are capturing, and especially the archaeological sites that are disappearing. So the aim of these kind of surveys is to prevent the disappearance of the memory of these sites because of many risks, whether they're political, wars, or even natural disasters. As you can see here, you can even depict the smallest details in color in order to transmit them to archaeologists and architects in order to survey and to restore and preserve all these elements. And we can create different layers, enabling us to extract many data that can be used different ways. For example, that's a topography map of the area. We can even implement different sites where we can zoom in where the surveys were made on a higher resolution. I'm really sorry, the quality is really terrible, but the video is amazing. I can send it to you later. And we can implement these tools with a lot of information, like archaeological findings that could be helpful for archaeologists, researchers, or historians. I'm going to start by talking about the example of Aleppo. After the bombardments and the war in Syria, Aleppo was really hit during the war. So in 2016 and 2017, we worked with the DGAM. We worked with the DGAM and the local authorities in order to be able to go there and assess the damages. So as you can see, we were able to take thousands and thousands of pictures of the city in order to assess the damages and to recreate a map, an actual map that will help archaeologists, architects, and restorers to assess all the damages and locate the most endangered monuments and to put an hierarchy on where we should work first, for example. So here I'm going to show you a video. That's the souk of Aleppo. And what you're seeing here is, when you're going to see it. So what you're seeing here is a 3D model. It's not an image, it's not a video that was taken in the souk. We've surveyed the souks, taking thousands and thousands of pictures in order to recreate them and have a very precise model in which we can navigate and assess all the damages without being on site every time. Sorry for the... And as you can see, we can see all the details, all the damages. We can assess the cracks. It's okay. I'm going to pass it on in order to show you what we can do with all this data. Because acquiring this data is very important, but we should put it in use in order to preserve this art, this architecture, this heritage, and this art. So what we do is, from these models, we extract architectural elements, architectural drawings like sections, plans, and we assess the damages. And all these data, all these plans are sent to the Ministry of Culture and to local actors who are working on the renovation of these monuments. This is, for example, a section of the souk where you can see here all the damaged parts in red, the less damage in lighter red, in order for them to see how to work and to make the renovation works faster, go faster. And before going to the next example, I want to say, for example, after the earthquake that happened a week ago, our teams are now trying to go to Syria to make another survey of Aleppo in order to correlate the two of them and see what's the progression of the degradation of the site and how we can help. Because now we had a 3D model of all the city of Aleppo before the earthquake. And that would help people reconstruct the city as itself, and especially the historical monuments. Mosul is the same problem as Iraq. We worked with UNESCO. This is a project funded by UNESCO. That's one of the organizations we work with. We work also with Aleppo, with the British Council and other organizations. So here you can see the destruction of the mosque of Al-Nouri Mosque. And I'm going to show you now a video that was created. So as you can see here, we're working with the UNESCO. Now a video is going to appear. I hope so. Of course.
How long, do you have any issues sending drones in?
Yes.
What kind of issues do you face?
For example, the problem of authorization. The Ministry of Culture has its own powers and its own capacities, but without working with the government and the army, we were faced in a lot of situations where we couldn't get the drone to the country. So what we do is we always work with local actors and local dronists and professionals. It's a way of transmitting our knowledge, creating capacity building and being able to make the project happen. But because believe me, when you work in endangered places, it's very hard and you have to adapt even on site, even if everything is prepared. You always have to find a way to find a solution if anything happened. So we had drones that were shot in Iraq. Even us were aimed to be shot, but we weren't hit. So it's kind of an adventure, but honestly, it's really worth the risk, because this heritage isn't known by everybody. It might disappear, and if it disappeared, no one would be able to talk about it, to reference it. And what we're doing is creating an exact replica of the site that no map surveyed by hand can create. We're not here to take the place of the archaeologists, just to give them more elements in order to do their work. So for example, now we're working in Libya. We have a problem with with getting the drones. So we're talking to local dronist who works with the Ministry of Culture and the army in order to get the authorization. And same in Tunis. And here you can see another monument in Mosul that was surveyed from the inside and the outside. Generally, we make a general survey of all the city, and after that, we choose really the most important monuments in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture in order to do a more detailed survey from the inside and from the outside. And I think if we go back, there's a video of all the city of Mosul and the state of the city, which raise awareness, because that's part of the work. Is all these data are visually talk to people. So showing that to people raise awareness about the situation and about the danger of all this heritage, and especially the Islamic heritage around the world. It's okay. Maybe we'll go for it afterwards. If someone have any question while waiting. So now, these are, after acquiring all the data and making the surveys, we were able to create orthophotographic maps of the city and different kind of maps that helps us assess all the damages that these cities faced. And after that, recreate a cadastral map, updated cadastral map that will help archaeologists, architects, and local authorities to locate everything that should be done and all the action that should follow the destruction and the sad events that happen in these countries. Now I'm going to talk about the minaret of Jam in Afghanistan. It's not an endangered site, but we don't always go for endangered sites, because there are also sites that might disappear because of natural causes, earthquakes, flood, and so on. So here I'm going to show you the video, and I really hope this video works because it's amazing, on all the data and how detailed the survey can get while using our technology. Crossing fingers. And even if they can lower the quality, it's not a problem if it fastens the project itself. Sorry for the technical issues. So if anyone has any questions about our work or...
How do you pick the locations?
That's a very interesting question. We follow the news and we create local connections in every country, whether they are governmental or non-governmental, in order for them to alert us that there's a crisis. So whenever there's a crisis, what we do is we see how we can go there, in which way we use our connections, the ministries, the local actors, the NGOs there, in order to go and sometimes they even come to us telling us, there's a problem, you need to come and survey this. For example, in Azerbaijan and Armenia, after the war, we were able to survey all the tension, the area that was under tension, because it's not Armenian now, and it's not Azerbaijan, so it's in between, and we have no idea on what's going to happen with this heritage. So they called us, and we put a mission in place in order to go there. And generally, our mission could go from a week, 2 weeks, depending on the place and the Hooray! So this video was created for an exposition in the Islamic Art Museum in Paris, Guimet Museum, in order to showcase what we can do with the 3D surveys. As you can see, what you see here isn't a video of a drone traveling around the region. That's the 3D mapping that we were able to create after processing all the image that we were able to capture. And now, during the video, you're going to see different aspects and different parts of the minaret with different kind of architectural heritage specifications. And as you can see, it's not a superficial survey for just the exterior of the monument. We do our best also to get the interior of the monuments in order to have a complete vision, because the exterior gives us a vision, but not the clearest view. So after this shot, you're gonna even be able to see the exterior of the monument, where you can see brick by brick and the deterioration of the colors of all the art and all the carvings that were made architecturally on the minaret. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So the drone maps it and takes all thousands of pictures, and then they create that.
Yes. Exactly. At Econom we set up tools in order to be able to process this data and recreate these models and extract as many architectural documents as possible in order to make it work for local actors. Yes, AutoCAD, Revit, anything, because we have different clients who have different purposes for the 3D mapping. So what we do is we see what they need and we make it happen, even if we don't know exactly how the technology works. We discover it, we spend specialists to make some specializations. Yeah, here you can see brick by brick the interior. So, yes. And even for the sound, it's better, as you can see. So as you can see here, it's like you're there with your phone going down, but in reality, it's a cloud point where you can that you can visit, and that will allow you to see in high resolution the minaret itself and its environment. So all of this is a 3D model. After that, I'm gonna talk about the other, the Musalla minaret for other reasons, because we know about the political problems and risks around the world and the wars, but nature also plays its role. Even if it's not earthquakes or floods, nature make heritage disappear. So what we did is we scanned these minarets, and we were able to compare our data that we could extract with the archived photos. As you can see here, these are archived photos, and we acquired the data in 2010 and 2014, even before Econom was created. So as you can see here, the light gray was all the ceramics that were there during the 1940 during the archived photos, before nowadays. In the darker gray, you can assess that the damages that happened, what's remaining of the ceramics in 2010. And when we redid the 3D survey in 2014, you can see that a big part of these ceramics are disappearing. And we created a graph that allows us to see the speed of degradation of these monuments and allows us to alert all the local actors in order to take action and preserve what's rest or to renovate in order to recreate what was and in order not to erase these magnificent memories. The last example is Yemen. Yemen is a different kind of example. It's a capacity building that we worked with Aleppo. Aleppo founded. Aleppo is an organization that funds a lot of cultural projects. It was a capacity building project. There were many challenges in this project because we weren't able to go to Yemen. So it was a distant work. These are the cities where we worked. We worked with the two authorities because in Yemen, the two authorities don't collide. So in red are the cities where I'm going to show you some of the monuments we were able to survey, and in blue are the other sites that we surveyed too. And we had to train all these Yemenite people from Zoom. So it was a remote training enabling us. It happened. Enabling them to capture the data and send it to us. So it was a continuous back and forth with them when they had problems or questions in order to answer them and make the survey happen. So as you can see, this is Al-Kubba Palace. This, we processed it at Econom, but all the captured pictures and data was done by the Yemenite. Just to see that people, if we teach people how to do this kind of data acquisition, it's a way of telling them that these technologies aren't extraterrestrial and that might be used in everyday life in order to really preserve heritage all over the world. And from these monuments, we were able to extract orthographic elevations, sections, and I'm just going to show one elevation per monument. So here are the elevation. This is the architectural drawing that we were able to create after having these the models. And as you can see here, the details are really astonishing. You can see all the damages all around, whether it's in the wood, in the stone, or in all the parts of the monument. And what's important about that, it's that we capture the state of a monument at a certain time. So it's always a reference that we can use, that we can navigate in a platform that I'm going to talk about later on. This is another project, the Hatmut Palace, and we were also able to recreate, extract different kind of elevation and architectural documents in order to give them to local actors for the renovation or the documentation or the archive, to enrich the archive of their heritage. And this is the Al-Iskandariya Mosque, where we were able to even make the interior survey of the monuments. And as you can see in this part, I zoomed in on different kind of elements where you can see the detail and the refinedness of the artwork on the stone. And these kind of elements are the most endangered elements and that might disappear from a day to another. So having been able to capture them and to acquire them in order to create a survey is something that's honestly, I think, is, how to say it? It's okay. Maybe it will come later. And that's the last example of Al-Basha Mosque. We were able to create a master plan. On all these monuments, we were able to create master plans, sections, elevations, in order to help the authorities renovate and enrich their archive. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about the exhibitions, because the exhibitions plays a very, very important role in the awareness and raising awareness about this heritage around the world, because all the people can't go to these places or don't have the flexibility to. So here we have, for example, we did a lot of exhibition, especially in the Institute of Arab Art in Paris, where people can go around with projection of the city all around and even feel like on a scale of a human. So as you can see here, the vaults and the arcades are really one-to-one scale, and people can really see all the details that even on site he wouldn't be able to see. And as you can see, that's one of the monuments that was captured and surveyed in Mosul. And here you can see a person wearing VR glasses in order to. It's like he's there without being there. So it's a real high definition replica of what we can do with these techniques. So these techniques have infinite possibilities for the future. And what we do at Econom is try to implement tools after tools after tools in order to make this happen. I'm going to show you the image. That was the video of one of the exhibition we made in the Institut du Monde Arabe, where we were able to showcase everything that happened in Aleppo, in Mosul. And as you can see, we were able to recreate the 3D of the Mosque of Al-Nouri, of Palmyra, because we were able to scan Palmyra before and after Daesh attacked it, or Leptis Magna in Libya. So we try to reach out to as many people as we can on different topics, because heritage is a very, very, very rich and worldwide. So we work in Angkor, in Cambodia, in other countries, but we've noticed that the Islamic heritage is really important and endangered, especially in some of these countries. And we're doing our possible in order to make this survey happen the fastest and the most efficient way. And one of the values of Econom is to transmit this knowledge. So in all the project, for example, I'm Lebanese, and after the explosion in Beirut, I didn't work at that time with Econom, but I had a contact with them. They contacted me to implement a project that enabled us to have a very high definition survey of the city of Beirut after the blast. And this happened within weeks, thanks to the connections and helped a lot of architects to restore the damaged monuments, because even after the explosion, the state of these monuments continued to degrade, to worsen. So while doing that, we were able to work with the DGA, Direction General of Antiquities in Lebanon, to train the people there in order for them to make surveys by themselves. And using the funds we get, we buy equipment for these people in order for them, after we finish our mission, to be able to continue doing the surveys on what they see, what they feel like heritage. And it's not like we go there, we do the training and we leave. We're always in contact with them. If there's a problem, if there's a new technology, if there's a more defined training that they need, we will go to meet them and get all the knowledge we have. Thank you. Yes, of course.
So Econom, do you only based on like Islamic architecture, or do you do all different sorts of restoration?
We don't do the actual work of restoration. Econom is a private company who works with non-governmental organization, and we've just created an NGO within Econom, but that's separated. That's gonna called. We don't have the final name, but it's gonna be something like Econom Observatory, that will allow us to get funds more easily, because when you're a private company, it takes really a long time in order to get these funds. So when you have an NGO, we can focus on the really endangered places around the world that no one heard of, try to locate them by creating a map of all the risks that might occur, and scan them by satellite, by going there, and different ways in order to make it happen. So Econom has now a part that specializes in the exhibition of all the artwork, all the scanned heritage, and a part that's dedicated to the survey of endangered sites, which is the first value and why Econom was founded. And one of the first sites that were scanned by Econom is in Afghanistan, Islamic art.
I'd love to show some of the newcomers to Aleppo.
Yes, of course.
See that video again. We weren't able to see the whole thing.
Now we're working on it, for example, that's, no, that's not, just 1 second. So that's Mosul, so that's Aleppo. So as you can see, when we went to Aleppo, we talked to the DJAM and the Ministry of, and the Army and the Ministry of Defense in order to get the drones there. And as you can see, we're able to take thousands of pictures, and you can see by the picture the horrible state of the city. And generate a 3D model. Here you can see the cadastral plan that we were able to create. And now you can see a video of the souk of Aleppo. That's not a video shot by a camera or by drone. That's an animation in the model, allowing people to visit the model even without going there. So that's something, it's intangible, but at the same time, you feel like you're there. You can see every single detail, every single aspect of the monument, and even analyze it in ways you can't in regular ways. For example, there are so many parts of a lot of monuments that aren't accessible to everyone. By doing these surveys by drone, we're able to locate what's happening all over the monument and assess all the damages or all the risk that might happen afterwards. So all you're seeing here is an animation of the 3D model generated. Yes, I saw a question.
So I have 3 questions.
Yes.
The question is, how long does it take you to render these?
To that depends on this depends on the size of the monument and the amount of data that we were able to acquire. For example, for a site, we can take 2,000 pictures, and we can take 100,000 pictures. For example, when we did the survey of the Giza pyramids, we took thousands and thousands of pictures. The time process is really correlated to the quantity of picture we were able to acquire. So it could take a week or 2 or even a month sometimes, because the programs that we use aren't intelligent enough to recreate it perfectly. So we have to put our efforts in order to make it perfect.
So what's the tech behind all of these shots?
Photogrammetry. So that's the technology the main technology that Econom uses in order to create these models. These pictures were taken in 2016, 2017. Drone pictures, yes. Just after the end of the war, in order to be able to shoot pictures by the drone and not the drone to be shot by people. Because we had drone shots before, yes.
Have you done also mapping for citizens in Pakistan? Because I met a group of young people who were working on that, documenting the whole.
In Pakistan?
Yes.
We are currently in contact with several governmental and non-governmental organizations in order to implement our work there.
Yeah, I think if I can have your contact.
Of course, I have my business card.
They were actually contacting us, trying to.
That's our aim, to get in contact with people, to show them that this isn't we're not doing this work just for us. It's really for them, for the preservation and for the future of the future generation that might never see these monuments. I'm gonna maybe retry to show you the Mosul video. So here you can see all the city, all the 3D mapping of the city. It's in really high resolution, but because of the connection, you can see it in a low res here. And you can see all the damages that happened, and we were able to assess everything that happened in the city and to declare the state of emergency in order to mobilize different local and international actors to restore and take action in these places. Yes?
Try this one. Okay, to a test. Is it working?
Test, yes. Thank you.
Just for the sound.
So as you can see just damages everywhere, and that's Al Nouri Mosque that is being restored. And we've sent all the data that we were able to acquire of this mosque to the UNESCO in order for them to be able to restore it the best way possible. Yes, of course. I'm here for the questions. I love answering questions.
Thank you. It's fine. I think my voice is
Zainab. All right. Well, I do understand that you're doing this for mainly for documentation purposes, and it's an amazing noble cause, and it's there is an urgent need for that. But if we want to look at a more brighter side,
Yes.
what other uses can we implement such a technology at? I'm thinking on top of my head, if we can use these images to, for example, stimulate the environmental performance of those buildings when they were actually built. Like maybe we see how the ventilation used to work. Like document not only the structure of the buildings and the architectural elements, but also the environmental performance of those buildings, for example.
Of course, I have many examples, but I didn't integrate in the model. What we do sometimes is we get as much as we can archival photographs. We locate the place where these photos were taken, thanks to different kind of technologies, and we use these photos to recreate a photogrammetry of the place even before it was damaged and as they knew it before. And we're now even trying to do that to Beirut. And not all these models are accessible for the public, but we created an app, an online app that's called app.econom.com. It's an app where you can see as you saw the planet Earth, the map of the world. You'll have many dots that are open to public, and when you go in, you can really go deep in the monuments, visit it, take measurements, make sections. So we want people to be able, not only by exhibition, to visit these monuments, but even from their homes. And this initiative was put in place during the confinement. We can't put all the data and all the sites online for security reasons, but we try to put as much as we can. For example, now if you go on app.econom.com, you're going to see around 40 models in different countries around the world. Yes. Again, it's app.econom.com. Yes, ICONEM. And it's a really interesting app because even when I'm at work and I have some spare time, I go there, explore monuments, and this technologies allow us to discover many, many hidden jewels around the world in Islamic art and worldwide, and even earlier art. So I think this tool is gonna get more and more in action. For example, now we're trying to work with the Ukrainian government in order to implement the same platform that you're gonna access with the Econom app.com for the Ukrainian Ministry of Culture in order to compile all the 3D models that were generated, because we know that we aren't the only people who work on that. So we're not there to go and teach them live. That's not the purpose. We're going just to help them get there and to combine all the 3D models that were acquired by different organizations, or private or non-governmental, in the same place for the Ministry of Culture to have the maximum data possible of the damages. Thank you, it's my pleasure. So now, for example, we're in Al-Ula. We're working with Al-Ula in order to recreate the city. I can't show you the pictures because they are confidential, but we were able to recreate the city. We work with archaeologists in order to be the most accurate, in order to have the most precise models. And generally, these kind of visuals helps all the people really comprehend what happened and how it evolved and how it was back then, and even know how it disappeared and prevent from future disappearance of other monuments. Thank you very much.